welcome to the Mr. Majestyk Commentary. A movie I enjoy very much, and that I hope that you enjoy very much. As we start our broadcast, give you some background information. Richard Fleischer, the director, um, made quite a variety of movies. As I said in an earlier video, Tora, um, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Yeah, he made that. Fantastic Voyage. Um, McHugh, starring John Wayne. Um, Several other films. Richard Fleischer, quietly one of my favorite filmmakers, because this movie's not shooting for too much, but what it shoots for, it accomplishes. It doesn't. It's not trying to build a multiverse, even though it is written by Elmore Leonard, who has some interconnectivity in a variety of his films. But yeah, Mr. Majestyk. We're gonna enjoy it together. Death Wish was a big film for Mr. Bronson, and this one is a very unique one as well. Um, Elmore Leonard wrote it, and without any further ado, we're just going to get it started. We're going to count down, and I'm going to get the subtitles on the screen. Let me get it all keyed up for us, okay? English subtitles. And at around 15 volume or so. And with that being said, we're going to keep it down from now at the MGM logo, starting at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press play. So, Richard Fleischer did make quite a few action films, but also, of course, other genres as well. As I listed, and if you end up looking through his credits, you'd be pretty amazed. I absolutely love sound, I guess the theme, the credit sequence of this film. You get, kind of pixelated, grainy footage of his face and the various characters. A really cool font for the time, all black letters, 70s style. The other fonts for the movie I also like as well. You got Al Lettieri playing a gangster in this film. Lee Purcell's still around, and Linda Cristal from Argentina, as well as other heritage as well. Charles Bernstein, great music. Now, I'll point out Paul Koslo as we get further into the movie. But Paul Koslo has passed away in January 2019. I reached out to him 2-3 years ago when I had seen this movie, and he did some other good performances. He's in the Day in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. I believe that's the title of that film. And I believe the photography is a real strength of it. Obviously, the screenplay by Elmore Leonard, though at times it's absent of wit and all that, it's definitely got it in. It's just a unique film, where instead of a family being at risk, it's a crop of melons. I mean, I'm all for originality in movies and finding characters where, okay, so as you see here, his truck says Majestyk Brown Melons. He's very into melon farming and taking care of his crops. And when that comes into threat, it motivates his action. So clearly he's a white gringo using the restroom, no problem. But then in a moment, a couple other people are going to try to use the restroom, and they're not going to be allowed because of their race. So he's going to step up on that. Always important in these action movies to show the hero uh, doing the right thing and standing up for people early on in the film, so it gets you on the good side for it. So he's picking up the Mexicans that he wants to have labor for him. And I love this scene. Get the context of the town in Colorado as it is. He's calling up all the people he needs to haul the melons, pick melons. I guess melons sell for quite a lot if you think about it. I mean, go buy a watermelon at the store. It's not something I do all the time, but if I were to do so, obviously you get a lot for your money, but they're probably a significant amount per pound. So he's gonna sell them to a market and probably make a good profit. So he's pretty excited about the melons. Obviously, there's a lot of jokes and puns that can be made about this movie, but it's pretty much played straight down the middle of Charles Bronson, just being a working man with a past, served some time, been in the war. When he got out of the war, he served some time. He got in a fight, as we'll learn. He has a defunct marriage and kid out of wedlock, etc. But hey, that's how that goes. So here we see the gas man's restricting this pack of Mexicans from using, or Latinos, whatever you want to call them, from using the restrooms. So you don't want them getting in the restrooms and using it. And he says that they practically try to take a bath in there and they take all the supplies. It's a very interesting claim. I always wondered if he's just saying that or if they actually had done that recently in the reality of the movie. So then he comes up to him, one white man as another, saying they come up there and they take the bath, they steal the toilet paper, let them use it. Oh, Bronson's gonna get right in his face because he's gonna, claim that he knows the owner. Now, I always like Bronson's way of posing. It's very simple on camera to pose. He poses very good on camera. I guess we could talk a little bit more about Charles Bronson and my love for his movies. I think the first one I ever saw was Kinjite, the Forbidden Subject, and saw that in a hotel room when I was a young kid. And that's not exactly the best introduction to the world of Charles Bronson, but yet it was too. Indeed, it was as well. Now, he was supposed to be cast in a lot of different movies, but I guess schedule wise or money wise, he just took other roles in his career. But what he made, I'm not even the hugest fan of the Death Wish series. What he made with Mr. Majestyk, Once a Time in the West, and what I feel is an underrated classic, Murphy's Law, and then to some extent also Assassination. These are really, 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 really good movies that for whatever reason have been lost throughout time, and not lost, but not given the proper adoration that they deserve. So now him getting to know this nice Hispanic chick that he just stepped up to the bath and helped them unload their bladders. So he's trying to insinuate if she's banging up on any of the migrant workers that she's picking melons with and all that. So they are union workers and they are breaking union rules in order to pick his melons, apparently out of economic necessity. But her name is Nancy Chavez, and she didn't, serve. She's not a cousin of him, but she was up on the picket line with him. So I don't know why she's coming to work for him because I think he's paying non-union. But hey, Gotta do what we gotta do in this struggling time sometimes back in the 70s here. So she's getting to see all the crops she's got, and that's a nice little crop of melons. Expect to see even more. But here's trouble. And this is Paul Costello that's going to bring the trouble here. What I like about it and what he liked about playing the role is he was playing kind of a caricature of himself, a sort of Yosemite Sam type troublemaker. Or Yosemite Sam meets Bugs Bunny type troublemaker here. Because he wants to be a badass, but he doesn't know how to yet. And this guy's yeah, he plays Bobby Coppa's Paul Costello, just recently passed away. January of 19. I like the dramatic conflict here between the two. He's stepping out the drama, walking towards them. Really enjoy this part. So, as you can see, Charles Bronson's a bigger, stronger, and tougher man than this guy. And he's going to try to prove it to him here. Even though this guy's trying to prove otherwise. I like Charles Bronson's hat. Demeanor, obviously. And he's number one in my book in terms of action stars. What I like is you can always see him taking the pain and doing the actual work, where the other guys just doesn't even seem like they're having to do any of the work. You know, seems pretty much Steven Seagal is a well-trained machine at some points. You know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, same difference. Schwarzenegger is a brute force machine, and to some extent, Stallone is just, you know, he glides by on his image in these movies a lot. You know, the action movies at Stallone. With some brute force as well, of course. But with Charles Bronson, you know, I mean, look at him. The everyman. And he's a badass. And if you want to, you know, step to him, you get wrecked with. You know, and he'll take the brunt of your pain to give you pain. That's what I like about Bronson. And though clearly he didn't get the same big casting, big budget movies behind him. I mean, I don't even know what the biggest budget one was. Maybe like something like Murphy's Law, which I would own Murphy's Law for like $27. I mean, just for whatever reason, just haven't spent the cash on that because that's what the DVD is. So I love this part. Jacks the shotgun from the guy that's threatening him, and then you know, blast the loudspeaker down too. Great part. Everyone knows that's going to lead to trouble, but hey. So he tells the other dude to open up the trunk, and he's going to put the gun in the trunk, apparently. And they're going to try to make trouble for him now. They were already making trouble for him, so. Tells the guy to open the trunk, throws the shotgun in there, and the other guys knows to drive off, but he's not going to be in harm's way. Tells the guy that if you want his opinion, you're in the wrong business. Great line by Elmore Leonard. Hey, buddy, if you want my opinion, you're in the wrong business. There's certain people in the world that are tough guys that really want to do stuff, and there's certain people in the world that are tough online or tough this, tough that. And when it comes down to it, they really can't handle their business. You got Charles Bronson working alongside all the migrant workers here. He's not above anything. And they do look like beautiful watermelons. God's creatures. So then the cops roll up on him, and they're gonna hassle up Mr. Bronson because of that incident. It's really the racial incident, I guess you would say, or the labor incident, racial labor relations incident. To be politically correct about it. So this is Colorado. I didn't ever knew Colorado looked like this, but beautiful. I guess there's some hilly areas towards the end, all that. So that's always good. Get on the couch, Curly. All right, we're back. My dog is a huge Charles Bronson fan as well. I think we maybe go invest in that particular movie I mentioned. You only live once, you know. What's it called? Murphy's Law. And now in this situation, we're gonna learn a little bit more about Charles Bronson and his character. The backstory: you got a very inquisitive, main cop guy here in town. It's kind of a scene that First Blood, starring Sylvester Stallone, has similarities to. Kind of a similar type scene. I like this scene quite a lot. 4 years he got, and 7 years. I mean, you get to learn his story there. Bar fight. But it's kind of like the guy in Con Air in a way. So he's telling me you got a bunch of melons you gotta clear out. I ain't got time for this. Usually it's I gotta go take care of my family. I got this, I got that. I got a big case to crack. This guy's got a bunch of melons to take care of. So again, it's a very unique action movie. He's very serious about his melons. So he tells him about this old thing where the old stuff happened. It was a very underrated action movie. Mr. Majestyk from the mid 70s, and I hope everyone can enjoy it. I don't know if everyone has it on DVD or Blu-ray, but hey, go out and buy it. It's available out there, and it's cheaper than Murphy's Law. I can get Assassination in a 6 pack, I believe, or 4 pack. The the Charles Bronson movie. I like Kinja the Forbidden Subject. Like, sometimes people don't like that movie by him, but I like that one. Now he died. He wasn't that young when he died, but he died not that old of an age. It would have been great to see his career go on and maybe him cross over with Clint Eastwood in some movie or act alongside Clint Eastwood. I really like this scene. He's kind of bonding with some of the prisoners, and obviously we see this chap here at the beginning, and how Lettieri is playing a gangster, which he had people like that in his family, and obviously he was in Godfather movies. And the man, instead of giving Charles Bronson food that he wanted, the gentleman knocked the food on the ground. So that pretty much sets a bad precedent. So it's everyone out there watching along with us for Mr. Majestyk this evening. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast from the West Coast. from Los Angeles to San Francisco to Seattle, uh, over to there from Washington to Idaho, down to Nevada, and the people in Reno, and the people in Carson City, and the prostitutes in Las Vegas, and the regular folks in Las Vegas, and the other people down there in Arizona, and even those listening internationally in Mexico or all over the United States and world, and even the people that are listening in Colorado where this movie was filmed. Tell me some of your favorite parts there in the chat. If you're watching live here in the chat, tell me some of your favorite parts of Mr. Majestyk. If you haven't seen Mr. Majestyk, why don't you go ahead and pull the trailer up and tell me some of your favorite parts of the trailer of Mr. Majestyk. Inquiring minds like to know. I'd like to see what draws people to this movie. Obviously, we had some story that I didn't expect here, where the gangster guy that he's in jail with in that holding cell is actually a big mob hitman. And I expected he was a hitman, but I didn't expect he was that big. He's basically on like 2020 or something there, and he's a TV star. So not only is he a dick to everyone in jail he's with, he's a quote unquote TV star. A TV star hitman for the mob, you know. So you got this kind of dynamic similar to the movie Fugitive, different people, different backgrounds, all on a bus going, you know, from one holding cell to one larger incarceration tank, or as it were. And there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken there, Colorado, I guess. Very good part. Yeah, I very much enjoy getting to see this part of the country, this part of Colorado. And interesting to think why Mr. Majestyk decided to leave. I mean, obviously he left California where his family was, but why he picked out Colorado and how on earth he got into the watermelon farming business. So these are all, you know, things that maybe Elmore Leonard wrote to himself or somewhere. I don't know, because I don't think that there's. Oh shoot! Yeah, I gotta tell this part. I don't think there's a lot of detail about it. So now you see just this great shootout in the streets of whatever the city's name here is in Colorado. I remember looking it up once. Very small town, not too far from Denver. These men are literally wearing, you know, women's stockings over their head, shooting cars up till they blow up, doing anything they can to set this mobster free. So, got that cop standing there. He got capped. You got the main driver. He got capped. You got another cop. He got capped. And you got another cop here about to get capped. So they cap up on every cop possible, and they do everything almost they can possible. Oh, but then that cop got some good shots left in him. Ooh, I don't remember that part. They get that station wagon. Oh, wow. One dude got out of the car like thinking he was gonna be a badass, and he died. And it almost looked like Al Lettieri. It's basically a stunt double. Seems like a very high-profile escape here, and obviously the cop is hurt really bad. And either it's a really cold day here or what. I don't know what. I don't know why there's smoke coming out of their faces. It doesn't sound like you'd be breathing smoke out. But hey, I don't know. I guess. Sorry for the interruption there. Just quick pause my machine actually so we resync up. Okay, we're all back up. You don't have to do anything. Don't pause anything. Everything's synced up on your end. It only interrupted me for just a split second. So yeah, I remember seeing this movie and feeling this Al Lettieri is a very intense walrus of a man, very much a big mustache, loud clothing, very much how you would embody, I guess, the 60s or 70s to look like. And the fact that he's a hitman in that era, and that they're going through all these means to set this motherfucker free, basically, it always gets me to the point of being like, damn, this guy's a pretty significant dude, and everything. And like, as the plot starts evolving, and he becomes, you know, as the plot becomes further intertwisted with Charles Bronson, you begin to think about, wow, this guy, man, what the fuck, he's got the world as his oyster. He's a great hitman, and yet he can't let this grudge go with Charles Bronson. Now you'll see how the grudge develops here, is because they're all prison escapees here, or jail escapees. You know, you almost would think, oh, how does the plot continue with them at this point? Well, it's very simple. Um, Charles Bronson will now kind of parlay or try to um, use the Al Lettieri character, Sal Randa or something like that, as the bargaining chip to get himself free so that he can melon farm properly. So then that drives a major wedge, as you would imagine, into their relationship, and they'll nearly kill each other, and then basically set the course for the rest of the movie here, which is, another hour of the movie at least, which is basically them hating each other and trying to basically kill or be killed type scenario, kind of like a Tom and Jerry type situation where you got the big ass dude trying to hunt down Bronson. So Lettieri tries to get to know him here, but Bronson doesn't like him already because he was a dick to him earlier about the food, and it just seems like, kind of guy you can use as a bargaining chip. And Bronson says he's got an idea that might work, and he likes his idea better. His idea, he don't. The thing is that Bronson doesn't want to go with a guy like this. He wants to go back and melon farm, and he tells him here, right here, you're coming with me. He has to get physical with him because the man's still tied up and he's not. So he takes him on a major hike here through some what you would expect Colorado to look like, major hilly areas. I like this part quite a lot. You'd almost think that Saul Randa could out physical him here and just break Charles Bronson's arm or something here, but it doesn't occur. So I hope everyone out there is enjoying themselves. If you're watching Mr. Majestyk alongside with us, or if you're going to watch a little bit later, this is now the part where Charles Bronson's going to take the hitman into a secluded cabin and use him as a bargaining chip to get his own freedom. And in doing so, it's going to make the hitman very upset. He's never been actually the hunted man, so he don't like that he was hunted and then brought back into custody, etc. And then when he gets freed on bail or freed, see, he's trying to set himself free now. He knocks over Charles Bronson here. Bronson's quick. Bronson's not necessarily like a cat. He's just a big physical presence and just can punch. It's one thing about him a lot in his movies is his ability to just punch. Not a big puncher, just a puncher. He'll hit you enough. He'll hit you. He'll get in there and do the dirty work. He'll get in there and get you some good punches in there. You gotta be handy with that punch, that first initial punch, and he'll pop you one. He'll pop you one. He'll get you off balance, and then he'll pop you another one. And then he's telling them now, look at Lettieri. He's desperate. He's like, we could be living this gangster, delicious life here in L.A., getting some broads here tonight if you just don't turn me in. But what Bronson wants is just to get his damn melon crop in. As I've said a bunch of times, and as he's going to say a bunch. So what's his name says, yeah, we can go to LA and you can hire someone, but what's his name wants to be more um, on the game with who he's gonna hire. So obviously, this guy now threatens him, and Charles Bronson flicks his hair back and says that he's not interested in this. Uh, yeah, he's putting it to him that he's gonna have him killed unless he gets free here. 25,000 he offers him. No, that's blood money, of course. I love Wiley. Wiley is, as you say, or as you'll see, more of a surprising character than one would expect to have occur with the name Wiley, and obviously that Wiley can, wire or prepare money so quickly there in Denver. Makes you wonder about organized crime nationwide and everything like that, because Denver is not exactly obviously things to do in Denver when you're dead. Notwithstanding, it's not exactly some place you think of for violent mafia crime movies. But this is a mafia action crime revenge action thriller, whatever you want to call it, set in the 70s in rural and Denver proper, but outskirts of Denver clearly here. So Bronson makes a pretty weird bargain here, um, and the aim of the bargain is just to use the phone there at the place that he's at there. So have a little bit of my cookie here, and then have a little ice cream too. What are you guys eating out there? You have any snacks? You enjoying the evening? Do you like Charles Bronson? Is Charles Bronson one of your favorite stars, or do you feel kind of indifferent to him because he's just one of the people out there in the atmosphere? If you were to rank all the different stars, would you? How would you do it exactly? Well, if I had to, I would probably put as the number one seeds Arnold, Stallone, um, as number one seeds, and then Clint Eastwood is another number one seed, and then I don't know who the fourth number one seed would be. I would love to put Charles Bronson on there, but it's not agreed on that he's the likely the fourth greatest action star of all time. Seagal, because of all his you know difficulties and what would you say last 20 years of shitty movies basically on DVD for the most part that I've heard most are bad. I've seen some of them and like them though, so I got to see each one of them for myself. Um, I think he'd be like a 3 or 4 seed. Um, Someone like Dolph Lundgren, very strong, very strong action star, but probably wouldn't be that high of a seed if we were doing a tournament. Van Damme would probably be a 2 or 3 seed, even though of course he's more watered down as well. He had a more consistent rate of success up until I guess the Quest or so, was his theatrical movies and all that. I mean, how far you want to stretch it with action people? Who is an action person and who's not? Got a guy like Gregory Hines who was in a couple action movies. Would he be a 16 seed? I mean, Eve of Destruction is one of my all-time favorite movies of any genre, not even action or anything. So I clearly would put him as a 16 seed, at least, maybe even higher. Because Running Scared is an action comedy, and the action in it is not bad that he participates in it. So that's at least 2 movies. So I guess like 2.5 movies of being an action star would be uh, the requisite. So maybe I'll draw this up as a tournament and go through all the different ones. But Bruce Willis himself, probably a number two seed. There's really no way you could star in the entire Die Hard franchise and be anything less than a two seed. Because I know the last two movies are not as well liked or popular or anything, but they're still Die Hard movies, and the first three, more than make up for it. And then when you put into account all the action or sci-fi roles that he was involved in, um, Last Man Standing, 12 Monkeys, Striking Distance. He's definitely a very famous action star. Got older people like John Wayne and all that, so it's hard to figure out where they would seed in exactly. Um, but it sounds like a really fun project. I love it. Here's the introduction of Wiley. Wiley's this hot chick, and she's driving this sick ass fucking car too. I don't know what year or whatever, or what kind of car it is, but it's sick as fuck. And I love Wiley. She's played by Lee Purcell. I think she does a really good job in this film. Lee Purcell's a Southern girl mainly. She grew up a lot in Paragould, Arkansas, which is a couple hours from here. Of course, Charles Bronson's not his real name. He lived on Bronson in California, which is a famous street in California, and he, named his name from that. He was of European descent and just total badass. So now we got a pretty cool scene here where we got a very dangerous hitman, and he's telling her, that they're ratting her out and going to jail, which it is kind of think like, but what's his name don't like him to begin with. It'd be one thing Charles Bronson liked the dude, but you just don't like him. Very dramatic stuff here. I really like that Charles Bronson is kind of doing the right thing for these migrant workers, but then he still gets the tax up on that Republican Linda Crystal in it. And she's just really down for him. She's really, once he shows his chivalry a couple points, she's really just down for him. And I think that that's an interesting dynamic in these movies, or in this movie in particular. It makes sense. He's a successful farmer. She's worked in the farming business. He's attractive to her, and all that. And you got the character of Wiley, who's clearly involved with the Frank Randa character. I think that's what his character's name is, the Alatieri acted hitman guy. And they're on a pretty good scrum here, scrumming for the gun. And Charles Bronson almost gets shot. That was a big physical scene. Must have been hard to film. Bronson then busts out through the glass window and then runs like a maniac to his freedom. Pretty impressive feat there. That's a beautiful shot, Colorado there. And Charles Bronson's a free man, comes into the police department, which is, I guess, it's kind of an honorable thing to do. Looks a little fashimal. Oh, well, Majestyk, nice to see you. Majestyk's a real weirdo. He could have 25,000, get into whatever body water in Los Angeles or Mexico or whatever. But instead, he's back in jail and without Frank Randa, and now he's got to pick his melons still. We got Frank Randa hiding out in Mexico now. Or I think that's still in America. But a hotel that clearly caters to a certain demographic. As I'm doing this, doing a strategy baseball league that I created. Really enjoy that. I love this RV. In the 80s and 90s, these kind of RVs were still around, and they just had such charm to them. They were kind of all made out of wood, but then when you touch the wood, you'd be like, oh yeah, the wood is only like 2 inches thick or less, and everything was kind of formica kind of feel, but then not actually formica. Hard to describe, but I really like these kind of RVs from the 70s, and even some of the working in Hollywood through the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Some of the trailers, for when you're acting in something, they're actually repurposed older trailers. So it's kind of funny to see the remnants of these old dinosaurs still. I like those curtains and everything like that. And coincidentally, I was on I don't know what you call it. It's the equivalent of Air Force One, but the helicopter that Nixon would troop around in, and they had those kind of 70s uh, drapes as well. Much higher quality, of course, but it was how things looked in those days. Kind of yellow and brown a lot, orange, beige, reddish. So he's got these lackeys around him. This guy, I really like him a lot. He's a very good character actor, and one of the surviving members of that whole heist at the beginning, or that whole thing that tried to set Lando free. Basically, it's a war going on. There were so many people that died in that first scene, and Randa is now obsessed with hunting and killing the gentleman that fucked with his day, basically. Should drop it, but he just won't. Getting through to everyone. Wiley's deferential to him, and this guy's trying to stand up to him, but just can't. I guess he's the boss. High school education, truck driver, farm laborer, Army 3 years, Ranger instructor, farmer at Fort Benning, captured in Vietnam, escaped with 4 enemy prisoners, got a Silver Star, then the big bar fight. The big bar fight set him on a different course, and then he had a divorce. But everything else pretty decorated, but career. Seems like he wants to get out of custody. Now he's been back in custody for 4 days. It's sad. He wants to farm his fucking melons. Bobby Coppice dropped the charges in the hopes that he can get freed, and then the homie can get, his access to kill him. So I really like this kind of scene here. Bronson always finds a way to lean on something in a particular scene. I like this actor. He seems, even though to be an adversary to Charles Bronson, I like his glasses. I like his overall look. He kind of looks like Elroy or Elroy from the Jetsons or Elton John, like an American version of Elton John, kind of like a simmed version of him. Um, Obviously, I really like Charles Bronson's hair here. You come it so far forward and up that you don't see that it's a good style that is implemented. You let it grow. I really like the way that guy's hair looks too. That older dude. He's got really pretty cool, sophisticated Elton Johnish glasses for someone that works in the law field. He's kind of getting swank with it. And then you got these little automaton cops everywhere. They're pretty lame actually. But everyone else in the movie's pretty cool. From Wiley to the Elroy looking cop to Majestyk himself to the hoe he's trying to bang that's a laborer. I mean that with all the respect. To Randa himself, he's a fucking pimp ass bitch. And then this dude, he's alright. He's kind of fagula because uh, he can't really hold his shit too well because everyone's like no call, no showing for work now because of the trouble that they started. They don't want to work and get their legs broken, basically. So his wife and children are now working today to make up the labor deficit, and the labor deficit needs to be corrected, but people are scared of Brenda, and he's at peace though. Look at him, man. He's back to his melon farming. It's like all is good as long as he can melon farm. So he's not the best driver, in my opinion. I mean, just checking out that situation of how he was driving there. Cops don't have anything to pull him over for there, but he's just not a very good driver. They're supposed to be following him anyway. And it's Pima County, I believe, or Puma County. Pretty cool sounding county either way. Um, Now, obviously, the movie has action from the beginning, but this becomes kind of the valley of the movie, where he's, getting his life back on feet, and you got Renda kind of looming in the background, threatening and wanting to get revenge. Where Renda should just move on and be living, like he said, in L.A. or Mexico, pimping like a villain. So Julio says he can't get him a crew, because Mendoza's telling him about that. And it's this time of the year, too much business. He's telling do a lot. Well, on the line. So he can't get workers because they won't want to work with you. Can't go to no damn hospital. He's gonna get beaten by Randover's people. I like this strange looking restaurant. I love the scenes between Mr. Bronson and it is Puma County. What a cool sounding county. Between Mr. You know, Paul and Charles Bronson. Between Paul and Charles. Paul has such cool hair in the film. The earnest desire to be really good at this violent actor. Um, but when it comes down to it, he really doesn't do what he's supposed to assume. He's not what you'd assume he is. Wow. Oh, the little blonde guy just made a big threat. Um, and then you get this kind of scene where Renda's kind of a weird James Bond villain that just doesn't have all the accoutrement, I guess. Because if he really wanted to get Mr. Majestyk out of the way, he would have, you know, you can kill Mr. Majestyks like that, you know, reality and in fantasy. But here he is kicking it with Wiley. She's wearing a very strange jumpsuit, but again, Lee Purcell is quite attractive. And you got, his henchman and friend, and who he takes for granted at every turn. Mr. Renda. He's making so now Renda knows that this man has use. That he's the one blocking the labor. Show him where he lives. He gets very threatening with this dude. This guy is very skittish, but seems to want to be a player in the hitman business. So they're giving him a chance because he's got quote unquote something useful to them. But he's gonna know that he's not of ultimate use. So he's mad that any migrants are working for him at all, even though there's no crew, quote unquote. They're all just fine with the migrants and everything. I love this time capsule. They're all just, oh yeah, there's a bunch of migrants everywhere, Pretty cool. I mean, the undercurrent of this movie is this was the 70s. This is a time where people are looking to get into crime, I guess, or melon farming. That seems to be the only two opportunities in this town. So Renda doesn't feel like he's getting the whole story, and somehow we're not getting the whole story. You don't know. So this guy's dumb. He doesn't think the cops will be tailing them everywhere because obviously they're trying to get Renda again. He wants to prove a point to this guy now because of his idiocy. I love how Wiley just tunes out, reads a magazine. She's a good, so he's gonna fuck with this guy around. This guy's scared of a 4 or 5 mile walk. I'd do that standing on my head. Huh, I ain't knowing you a half hour you're talking shit coming out the side of your face. So he points out his use and says that he watched him for him. He's like a dog that labors over a piece of meat. Not means mean to mean a dog or anything like that. But it means like all this guy's been good for is just making sure that Bronson has kept tabs on, which anyone can kind of do that. Charles Bronson sticks out like a sore thumb. His name's Mr. Majestyk. He's the melon farmer. I mean, how many Mr. Majestics are there? Is there Mr. Majestyk, the doctor, Dr. Majestyk? No, there's Mr. Majestyk. He's the melon farmer. I mean, I'm sure there's some comic book guy, called Mr. Majestyk somewhere, but this guy spells it Majestyk. No one spells it like that that I know of. If they do, they're ripping off this character, Mr. Elmore Leonard created. So I like this scene quite a lot. I think it shows what life is really like on the road for the underground criminal network that there is out there. And here's Frank Renda welcome back. They celebrating him every time he gets out of jail. You know, you don't get much better than this lifestyle that Frank Renda has when he's holed up here in this hideout in Colorado. I mean, no wonder he doesn't want to run off anywhere. He's got this tight piece of ass, and he's gonna tax it all night long because he's got this nice little place in Colorado where you can just kick it, and you don't have to go run off to get fucked no LA bitches or Mexico, go on the run. He's just gonna stay local and wait to hunt his prey. So he's talking about his old buddies. Everyone's hanging out here. Look at Brenda just getting ready to get in here, and she says, "Yeah, I can use a drink." She's not crying and everything about what everything she's seen and experienced the last couple of days. She said, "I use a drink." Even with that, Frank gives her a look, but she's her own woman. She stands up as much as she can, says, "I need a drink." It's been a rough couple of days, basically. And it has been. It has been indeed. She gets a call one day saying that I need 25 grand, come meet me and whatever. And you got Bronson and her man fighting and a bunch of weird freaks going off. And now they're at a hunting lodge in the middle of Colorado. One thing goes into another sometimes in the world. Now we get to look more about melons and farming. We just saw it get stripped of its stem there, and we're going to see it happen again. You cut it from the stem, like right there. So that's why I like it's kind of an instructional video too. Let's say you got a bunch of melons growing in your backyard. How do you slice it exactly from its stem? I think is very important. So here you show like you're passing a football. One pass, two pass, three pass, four. So you just grab one, hoist it, move it, stack it, toss it. The goal is to just load them up. So you got this scene here, which is hopefully no watermelons were hurt in the making of this movie, but we're about to set up one of the more memorable scenes in action movie history, and a scene that no doubt inspired Gallagher, among many other physical prop based comedians. Of course, I'm getting towards a scene that is legendary in history, and I'll just tease it now, and you'll see it as it happens. I'll point it out as being the key scene. But obviously, you saw a pretty massive stack of watermelons there, and obviously, we know that someone wants to get revenge. and that someone cares a lot about watermelons. So you can only imagine what might be happening soon regarding the watermelons and regarding the hitman Frank Renda seeking vengeance. So anyway, I find that the strength of the movie is seeing Charles Bronson occupy this man's world of Mr. Majestyk. I really would like to see a remake of this movie, but obviously they're going to try to load it in with too much policy talk and all that about migrant rights and all that. So part of me doesn't want to see a movie like that. And Mr. Majestyk almost sounds like he's a magician or something like that, or something. So it's always going to confuse people. It's just about, a melon farmer. But I do think some of these other characters, like Frank Renda, may overlap with some of Elmore Leonard's other books. I haven't read everything by Elmore Leonard, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of these characters may overlap in the Elmore Leonard larger verse, which includes Get Shorty and other movies like Life of Crime, etc. It's a cool scene. I really like that scene. That way you get to know about Frank Rendo a little bit more. He's a brutal, weird guy. Probably didn't need to do that, but he did. So, obviously, we all know the melons are very important. And we're going to have a situation here where these chaps are going to bust into this man's house. And they're not going to you'll see how it plays out here. I love the outfit there by Mr. Renda though. Red shirt, red and white, tweed jacket. Go ahead and list your other favorite Charles Bronson movies. Chuck Norris just came to mind. Chuck Norris is at least a 2 seed in the tournament. You gotta include guys like Harrison Ford in the tournament too, because obviously, the Indiana Jones movies are action movies, but they're actually, adventure action movies, and he was in obviously all the Han Solo appearances, and he was in also Air Force One and The Fugitive. Those are clearly action movies. And then you got a guy like Nicolas Cage. You might as well throw it into an action discussion. And even Mr. Travolta, definitely an action star. So yeah, I think I might set that whole tournament up. Might as well set that whole tournament up. I really like this scene. You get the threatening mob here fucking with them and telling them to leave. He basically just fires them all, tells them they got 2 minutes to leave. Very tough situation for those workers. Indeed. I very much am enjoying doing this commentary. Sometimes these 70s and 80s movies I really do love. It's very sad for all the melons. I don't know how many of them are, really used on film here or whatever, but never let to see food go to waste. This guy's all too excited to, they're both just, you know, they get to show their might against a helpless melon. I'm sure their job is usually pretty brutal, having to kill families, having to kill, you name it, as hitmen. Here, they're shooting melons, so it's pretty easy for them to just shoot the melons and not feel much remorse. I'm sure it's making them hungry for a watermelon because those look pretty delicious. It's sad, all those watermelons had to go there. I'm sure back in the '70s there still is no on-camera protection for food, if there is for animals. But so now he's giving her, or asking her about beauty advice. He asked her if she's ever had her hair up in rollers. Talks about his wife that she was always fiddling around with her hair. He has a daughter that's 7 and he misses her. I mean, I really clearly love this movie. It's grown on me, especially in recent months. Saw it maybe 2, 3 months back, and I thought it was such a strange movie. Uh, it reminded me of how much I love it. But someone can't really mistake it for something else. It sounds like it's a sci-fi movie, but it's basically just about a dude that farmers melons who goes to jail and meets a hitman who don't like him and who tries to kill all his melons. I mean, it's crazy. Sounds like someone would be like, "Oh, that's not a movie." But yeah, it's actually one of Charles Bronson's best, especially this era. Way more interesting to me than the Death Wish movies. Um, just my opinion. You know, I'm gonna post some more reviews of his other movies, of course, and hopefully have every one of them on a DVD so I can show them in the videos. But I won't even rank them all here. I'll just say that Mr. Majestyk is in my top 5 of his movies for sure, and that Murphy's Law is, if it's not number one, I mean, it was Once Upon a Time in the West is number one, but if it's not number one, then it's two, 2 or 3 at least. So I'll leave that for another future video because he's got such a massive career. Uh, I'd say there's at least 25 movies worth ranking. He's got some ones that you can just kind of list as honorable mentions at a certain point, where either the quality or something don't measure up. I can't think of the one title that I have. I have it on one format where, it's just not the same cinematically. It's harder to gauge the movie. But yeah, I will, do some kind of Charles Bronson, what do you want to call it, marathon, but I'll go over some of the movies of his career and try to rank them in some manner. But very clearly, Mr. Majestyk's about to have a very difficult experience. Walk in and see. Oh, I think he does pretty good there. He actually like emotes. He walks in and they both are, it's like coming in and seeing their family slaughtered, all the melons. So a clenched fist response by Mr. Bronson. That was a very strange response. And then you see her unclench her fist and bring her man closer to her. And then it's so sad because there's, but now maybe it's going to be good for their relationship. though those melons died, a new fruit of their love may have risen. And obviously, they didn't shoot every melon, so some of those melons are salvageable, of course. So we're really enjoying the Mr. Majestyk commentary here. And this movie has a pretty thrilling conclusion. A lot of good car chases, good foot chases, good action, good wait about shootabouts. A lot to be had in the last little while of this film. I really do much like it. So she's kind of like, it's kind of hot out here for a pimp. She's been through union halls being bombed. She's been through all sorts of shit. So she's like, you know, I'm gonna hold it down with you and be ready to fight it out. Is what she's basically saying there. So yeah, very good scenes here. Just she's not happy having to go on the road. So now they get to the strength of the movie here. Like I love it when they're cruising together. Dark black car cruising around. Uh, really good scenes here. And that car is a lot of bad guys. As he's about to try to unload, Larry Mendoza is in jeopardy here. And they put him in big jeopardy by going for his legs, so to speak. I think this is a very brutal part. Very brutal. But very sad situation. A break the man's legs in the most painful way possible. They just basically take their car and crash into him, probably breaking his legs in at least one place or twice. Who knows? Doesn't seem like the man would ever walk again the right way. Um, One of the more brutal parts of the movie. I mean, who deserves to have their legs broken like that? I mean, you don't see that too often in movies. So then, he's a good friend. He goes and visits his friend in jail here. And his friend, of course, is adamantly going to say, of course, I'm out of this whole situation. Who would blame him? Yeah, I really like Charles Bronson's jacket here, and the earnestness of his performance in this scene. Basically, he's selfish and selfless in that he's trying to do this non-crop and provide jobs, but also turn around a healthy profit. And, get those melons out to the people. And when he's melon farming, ends up having consequences. This chap gets hurt. It becomes a problem. You can believe that. So to paraphrase, he tells it to them straight here. Tells them that these cops haven't done a damn thing and back off, basically. I really like that scene. Now, Elroy says we're gonna let them think that we're pulling out, but we're not actually pulling out. Because they want to make sure that it's not a slaughter of these melon farmers and everything involved with that. And they want to catch Frank Renda, of course. More importantly. Well, yeah. Got some dramatic scenes coming up now. Where I always think of the strength of the movie. This hitman thug type dude. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of a lot of different people. I think he does good in his role though. So again, nice like corn or wheat field here in Colorado. Not what you'd expect. They're trying to groom this guy, or he's trying to hang out with them, and he just keeps stepping on them. And they say, "Sonny boy, you keep your mouth shut here." And he thinks that he's gonna be, hot shit, but he's more just getting in the way.
What do you think? I don't know. I'll tell you one thing, though. I'm not gonna worry about it. His truck's there. Huh? Bunch of guys out there with guns. You see them? Figure out a way to get you out of here. At least I don't think they'll do anything until Render shows up.
I like these scenes. It's like she's trying to help, but there's really not much help she can do. It's shaping up towards a climatic showdown, and she's going to be there to witness it. But what can she do to help it?
Picked up his trailer and went right home. Hello? He was. Copa says that there's a girl there now. Came before the dude got back. I don't know. Last week, Dude Strider's got his girlfriend there with him.
He's holed up there waiting now,
Maybe.
and they got eyes on him.
Can't just walk in there. The cops will be waiting for us. Gotta figure something out. Hey, look, I got Lieutenant full of laundry. Frank, you want to hit your stuff, you gotta wait for the right time. I don't have the time, you understand?
He says, the cops could be waiting after him, but still, says he doesn't have the time. He want to kill this guy and go on the run. But it's not that easy with Mr. Majestyk. I'm surprised they still haven't cleaned up all those melons yet. But honestly, people, just enjoy this action movie. Uh, this last little ending of it on your own. It's kind of one of my traditions. I like to let the last bit of a movie kind of stand on its own. And some great action scenes. So I feel like I gave the movie some context and everything, and hope everyone out there can enjoy it when you get around to seeing it. It's one of my favorite movies, and this has been a commentary. And now you're going to watch the rest of the movie on the own of Mr. Majestyk, because this part doesn't really need any commentation. Bye for now.